Hare. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu vaevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshadarine Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatam ham vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Lord Chaitanya, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. So we were in the 9th chapter of the MadhyaLila, traveling with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in South India, and in the last session we saw that how Mahaprabhu meets a Brahmana who though invited Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for lunch, but then he was so disturbed with the fact that Sita, Mother Sita, has been kidnapped, she has been touched by Ravana, and because of that he had lost all his appetite. So he was actually living this pastime which we hear. He was living in that pastime, and he was living at that time, and he was lamenting, or he was feeling so sad. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he saw him and he explained that actually it was not the real Sita which Ravana could touch, because Sita Devi is completely spiritual and no material person, what to talk of Ravan, can never approach her. And then when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling, so like that he pacified the Brahmana and he continues in his South India travel. And then he comes across that particular portion of Kurma Puran where it is actually mentioned. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he read those portions, so he was immediately reminded of that Brahmana, and he was, in a way, he was feeling joyful that so whatever he has told to the Brahmana, now he has an evidence for that. So we will continue with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in 9th chapter of MadhyaLila. Raghunath asiya be Ravane marila Agni pariksha dite abe Sitarane Lila. After Ravan was killed by Lord Ramchandra, Sita Devi was brought before the fire and tested. Tabe Maya Sita Agni Kari Antardhana Satya Sita Ani Dila Rama Vidyamana.
When the illusory Sita was brought before the fire by Lord Ramchandra, the fire god made the illusory form disappear and delivered the real Sita to Lord Ramchandra. So the real Sita was in the shelter or under the protection of Agni Dev, and at the time of Agni Pariksha, actually Agni Dev brings forward the real Sita and the illusory Sita disappeared.
Shunina Prabhura Anandita Hailamana Ramadasa Viprikatha Haila Smarana. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard the story, he was very pleased and he remembered the words of Ramadas Vipra. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this pastime and he was very pleased, and he remembered Ramadas Vipra, because Ramadas Vipra was saying that my whole body is burning, but I'm not leaving this body, I'm not dying. So he was in so much of pain and distress hearing that news when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was with him. And now whatever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had told him and convinced him and pacified him, now he had a scriptural evidence for that. Isaba Siddhanta Shuni Prabhuranandhaila Brahmanera Sthane Magi Se Patra Nila.
Indeed, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard these conclusive statements from the Kurma Puran, he felt great happiness. After asking the Brahmanas permission, he took possession of the manuscript leaves of the Kurma Puran. So Mahaprabhu actually takes the manuscript, and let's see what he does next.
Nutana Patra Lekhana Pustake Devyaila Pratiti Lagi Puratan Patramagi Nila. Since the Kurma Puran was very old, the manuscript was also very old. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took the possession of the original leaves in order to have direct evidence. The text was copied onto new leaves in order that the Puran be replaced. So of course the original copy was there of Kurma Puran, and it was very, very old. Kurma Puran is considered to be one of the oldest Puranas. So that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got a copy done onto the new leaves. So the new leaves remained wherever those devotees were discussing Kurma Puran, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took the original manuscript. And why did he take that? In order to show it to Ramadas Vipra, in order to give him the direct evidence, so that there is absolutely no confusion. And all of this is happening because of such intense devotion of that devotee.
Patralana Puna Dakshin Mathura Aila Ramadasa Viprese Patra Anidila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to southern Mathura or Madurai and delivered the original manuscripts of the Kurma Puran to Ramadas Vipra. So for his satisfaction, he brings that. And did we notice how difficult it was during that time to write it down? Like, there was no publishing or press houses available. No photocopy, no photos. Now we take images in the phone and that's it. So actually it was handwritten. And then he took the old one and he brings it here.
And no sending it through WhatsApp. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled.
Had to personally go.
Had personally traveled all the way, came back. So that also shows the affection which the Lord has for his devotees. Sita yadhito vahanish chaya sita maji janat tam jahara dashagrivaha Sita vahani puram gata pariksha samaye vahanim chaya sita viveshasa vahani sitam samaniya tatpurastadani nayat. So these are the verses from Kurma Puran, the exact reference. When he was petitioned by Mother Sita, the fire god Agni brought forth an illusory form of Sita, and Ravan, who had 10 heads, kidnapped the false Sita. So this is what happened when Ravan came to kidnap Sita. Mother Sita petitioned fire god Agni. Agni brought an illusory form of Sita. And this illusory form was the one which was kidnapped by Ravana. And here it's mentioned who had 10 heads, which means, the kind of intellectual prowess he had. He was a great Pandita, but still he could not discriminate. The purpose of intelligence is to discriminate what is truth and what is false, and still he could not, and he kidnapped the false Sita. The original Sita then went to the abode of fire god. When Lord Ramchandra tested the body of Sita, it was a false illusory Sita that entered the fire. At that time, the fire god brought the original Sita from his abode and delivered her to Lord Ramchandra. So this is a hard evidence which is there of what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saying, that the consort of the Lord is not a material form, it's a transcendental form, and that transcendental form, what to talk about touching, cannot be even seen by gross materialist who does not have the qualification, who's not sufficiently purified, who does not have spiritualized senses, cannot even, there's no way to perceive spiritual forms with these dull senses.
Patrapana vipravaila anandita mana Prabhura charane dhari karaye krandana. Ramdas Vipra was very pleased to receive the original leaf manuscript of the Kurma Puran, and he immediately fell down before the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and began to cry.
Vipra kahe tumi sakshat Shri Raghunandana Sanyasira Veshe More Lila Darshana. After receiving the manuscript, the Brahmana, being very pleased, said, "Sir, you are Lord Ramchandra himself and have come in the dress of a sannyasi to give me audience." So this devotee also has this realization. He also got this realization that this sannyasi is not any ordinary sannyasi. Who's he? He is my worshipable Lord Ram himself, who has come in the form of a sannyasi just to give me darshan. Mahadukha haite more karila nistara aji mora ghare bhiksha kare angikara.
My dear sir, you have delivered me from a very unhappy condition. So we saw his unhappy condition in the last class. That's how he was not even able to eat. I request that you take your lunch at my place. Please accept this invitation.
Mano dukhe bhala bhikta na dil se dine mora bhagya punarapi payu darshane. Due to my mental distress, I could not give you a very nice lunch the other day. Now, by good fortune, you have come again to my home. So this devotee is feeling so blessed. He is aware that, I had so much of mental agony and I could not serve the Lord. Now he has realized that this personality is Supreme Lord, that I could not serve you the other day, but now it is my good fortune, Mora Bhagye, that you have come again to my home. Etabali se vipra sukhe paka kaila Uttama prakare prabhu bhikha karaila.
Saying this, the Brahman very happily cooked food and a first-class dinner was offered to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Se ratri taharahi tanre kripakari Pandya deshe tamra parni gela gaurahari. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed that night in the house of the Brahmana. Then, after showing him mercy, the Lord started towards Tamraparni river in Pandya Desh. So as we can see the map, it is way down south. Even Tamil Nadu, which is a southern state, it is in the southernmost, almost the southernmost portion of Tamil Nadu. And this river is very, very famous. So there is a mention of this river in Ramayana. And even in Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, there is a mention of this very famous and pious river. ताम्रपाणि स्नान करी ताम्रपर्णी तीरे
नय तृप्ति देखी बोले कुतूहले. There were 9 temples of Lord Vishnu at Naya Tirupati on the bank of the river Tamrapani. And after bathing in the river, Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu saw the deities with great curiosity and wandered on. So here he visited the 9 Vishnu temples, and these 9 Vishnu temples are also known as Naya Tirupati, Nav Tirupati. And they are situated in and around this. There is this place, Alvar Tirunargai. So it is situated there. This is near Tirunelveli. So Lord had bath, he had darshan, and then he traveled on. So any holy place, we are also observing this, that Mahaprabhu, wherever he reaches, so first he takes bath in the holy river and then he goes for the darshan.
And all these holy places have temples of Lord Ramchandra. Usually it's all Ramchandra actually deities, or Lord Shiva.
Or Vishnu.
Or Vishnu, yes. So these Navatirupati or Tirupati or Navatirupati deities, once a year there is a festival where all these 9 deities come together for a festival. That's once a year. Chiyadatala tirthe dekhi Shri Rama Lakshmana Telakanchi asi Kaila Shiva Darshana. After this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to a holy place called Chiyadatala, where he saw the deities of the 2 brothers, Lord Ramchandra and Lakshman, Ram Lakshman. He then proceeded to Tilakanchi, where he saw the temple of Lord Shiva. So this place is also called Chiratala sometimes, and it is close to a city called Kaila. And this temple was dedicated to Lord Ram and Lord Lakshmanji. And then from there he went to this another place called Tilakanchi, which is northeast of the city of Tirunelveli, and where he had darshan of Lord Shiva. Gajendra Mokshana Tirthe Dekhu Vishnu Murti Panagadi Tirthe Asi
Dekhila Sitapati. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then visited the holy place named Gajendra Mokshan, where he went to the temple of Lord Vishnu. He then came to Panagadi, a holy place where he saw the deities of Lord Ramchandra and Sita Devi. So this Gajendra Mokshan temple he visited, and Prabhupada writes there in the purport that this temple, sometimes it is mistaken for Lord Shiva temple, but actually this is the deities is Vishnu, not Lord Shiva, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited here. And then after that it is mentioned that he visited another place, Panagadi. So this is about 30 miles south of Tirunelveli, and here he had darshan of Lord Ramchandra.
And later this deity was replaced by a deity of Lord Shiva. Chamtapure asi dekhi Shri Rama Lakshmana Shri Vaikunthe asi Kaila Vishnu Darshana. Later the Lord went to Chamtapura, where he saw the deity of Lord Ramchandra and Lakshman. He then went to Shri Vaikuntha and saw the temple of Vishnu there.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then went to Malaya Parvat and offered prayers to Agastya Muni. He then visited Cape Comorin or Kanyakumari. So now this range of mountain, the Malaya Parvat, it is actually very famous, and there are various reasons why this mountain range is famous. So the first reason is that the temple of Agastya Muni is there in the district of Tanjore in this range of Malaya Parvat. Then it is also mentioned that there is a temple of Lord Skanda on a hill known as Shivagiri. And this temple was actually established by Agastya Muni. Then there is a hill near Cape Comorin known as Pathia, and again that place is Agastya Muni's residence. So as we see, all the places related to Agastya Muni is there in this Malaya Parvat, and that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offers prayers to Agastya Muni. Amali talaya dekhi Shri Ram Gaura Hari Mallara deshete aira yata bhatta thari.
After visiting Kanyakumari, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Amali Tala, where he saw the deity of Sri Ramchandra. Thereafter, he went to a place known as Mallar Desh, where a community of Bhattatharis lived. So Bhattathari. So they are a nomadic community. We call what, gypsies, you know. So it was a nomadic community, and they lived in camps, and there was no fixed place of residence. Interestingly, outwardly they appeared like sannyasis, but actually they had accepted this dress of a sannyasi, but their real business was stealing and cheating people. And sometimes they will allure others through, they had women in their communities. They had first allured the women, and then women could not leave that community, and they used those women to allure others into that community.
We call Banjare.
Yeah, gypsies in English. Yeah. So this was one such community called Bhattatharis.
Bhattahari. Tamala Kartika dekhi
Aila Veta Pani Raghunatha dekhi taha Vanchila Rajani.
After visiting Mallar Desh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Tamal Kartik and then to Vetapani. There he saw a temple of Raghunath, Lord Ramchandra, and passed the night. So as we were discussing that he is traveling to various Ramachandra's temple.
Gosai Rasange Rahe Krishna Das Brahmana Bhattathari Saha Taha Haila Darshana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was accompanied by his servant Krishna Das. He was a Brahmana, but he met with the Bhattatharis there. So now something's going to happen. Suspense is building. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling with his assistant, his servant Krishna Das. He was a Brahmana. But now this Brahmana came in touch with this people of this community. So remember that these community people, they dressed like sannyasis, but they had women in their community, and their business was not really something spiritual. Stridhana dekhana tanra lobha janmaila Arya saral viprita buddhi nashakaila.
With women, the Bhattatharis allured the Brahman Krishnadas, who was simple and gentle. By virtue of their bad association, they polluted his intelligence. So using women, actually, they could allure the servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. So can we imagine the fortune and the mercy what this person had? This Kal Krishnadas, he was constantly with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu did not take Nityananda Prabhu or Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya or anybody else, but he accepted this one person because he would be a nice assistant. He was a Brahmana. He would carry Mahaprabhu's pot and walk along with him and arrange certain things for him. So how powerful Maya is, that, I mean, what to talk of us? Here is a person who was constantly with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and even he could be allured by the company of women.
So you have to be very, very careful of any bad association. Rate uthi aila vipra Bhattathari ghare Tahara Udesha Prabhu Aila Satvare. Allured by the Bhattatharis, Krishnadas went to their place early in the morning. The Lord also went there very quickly just to find him. So we see here this foolish devotee who got so much influenced by the women of this community, and but the Lord would not leave him, and so he came looking for him. Asiya kahane saba Bhattathari gane Amara Brahmana tumi rakha ki karane.
So now Mahaprabhu is a little angry here. And what he is saying, why are you keeping my Brahmana assistant? Amara Brahmana tumi rakha ki karane. Why are you taking my assistant? He is asking them.
Amiha sannyasi dekha, tumiha sannyasi, mora dekha dekha, toma Naya nahi vasi. I am in the renounced order of life, Ami sannyasi, Amiha sannyasi, and so are you, tumiha sannyasi. You are purposefully giving me pain. Mora dukha de, why you're giving me pain? And I do not see any good logic in this. Okay, if there was something proper or according to the scriptural codes you would have done, it's okay, but you're giving me pain for no good reason.
शूनि सब भट्टधारी उठे अस्त्र लाना मारी बारे आइला सबे चारि दिके धाना. Upon hearing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the Bhattadharis came running from all sides with weapons in their hands, desiring to hurt the Lord.
So their real nature has come out, despite the external dress. Tarastra ange pade hatha haite khanda khanda haila bhattadhari palachari bite. However, their weapons fell from their hands and struck their own bodies. When some of the Bhattadharis were thus cut to pieces, the others ran away in 4 directions. So, I mean, who can ever hurt the Lord? So, with that intent, when they came with their weapons, the weapons fell from their hands. They could not grip them. They could not use the weapons. They fell from their hands and the weapons fell on themselves. And some of them were cut to pieces. And then others were terrified and they ran off. Bhattadhari ghare maha uthila krandana keshadhari vipralana karila gamana.
While there was much roaring and crying at the Bhattadhari community, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu grabbed Krishnadas by the hair and took him away. So this is how, if we do devotional service, so no matter how strong Maya is, Krishna would not leave us. So we see how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so extremely merciful that he goes there in that community, challenges them, and actually grabs Krishnadas and pulls him out of that Maya.
But although Lord rescues him now, he gives him up later. He gives up his company later once he reaches back. So this is very important that we are very careful about the association that we keep. And if we, so much education is available in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam from the devotees, that the moment we see something could be dangerous to our spiritual life, we must maintain a light year distance from them. Sidina chali aila payasvini tire snana kari gela adi keshava mandire.
That very night, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his assistant Krishnadas arrived at the bank of Payasvini river. They took their bath and then went to see the temple of Adi Keshav.
So this temple is in Kerala now. Keshava dekhiya preme avishta haila Nati stuti nritya gita bahuta karila. When the Lord saw the Adi Keshav temple, he was immediately overwhelmed with ecstasy. Offering various obeisances and prayers, he chanted and he danced. Prema dekhi loke haila maha chamatkara sarva lokha kaila prabhu parama satkara.
All the people there were greatly astonished to see the ecstatic pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They all received the Lord very well.
Mahabhakta gana saha taha goshti kaila Brahma samhidadhyaya puntitaha paila. In the temple of Adi Keshav, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discussed spiritual matters among highly advanced devotees. So this also we hear that when we visit a holy place, we not only take bath in holy river, we not only take darshan of the deities, but we also associate with highly advanced devotees in the place of pilgrimage. So here we see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discuss spiritual matters. While there, he found a chapter of Brahma Samhita Dhyaya Punthi Taha Paila.
Punthi Pana Prabhur Haila Ananda Apara Kampa Ashrusveda Stamba Polaka Vikara. So just by having that scripture, Brahma Samhita, let's see what happens to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was greatly happy to find a chapter of that scripture. not the entire book, a chapter of that scripture, and symptoms of ecstatic transformation, trembling, tears, perspiration, trance and jubilation were manifest in his body.
Siddhanta Shastra Nahi Brahma Samhita Sara Govinda Mahima Jnanir Parama Karana. So Siddhanta Shastra Nahi Brahma Samhita Rasama. So in as far as Siddhanta Shastra is concerned, so all the scriptures, none comes close to Brahma Samhita. There is none equal to Brahma Samhita. There is no scripture equal to Brahma Samhita as far as the final scriptural conclusions is concerned. So Siddhanta Shastra, the scriptures having the conclusions. So there is no scripture which is equal to Brahma Samhita. Indeed, that scripture is the supreme revelation of the glories of Lord Govinda. So actually this Brahma Samhita has 100 chapters, but fortunately, at least the 5th chapter is now available in human society, and this 5th chapter explains the Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, the inconceivable simultaneous oneness and difference Tattva. That Lord, his energies are one and simultaneously they're also different. And we see that this this understanding, this philosophy explains all the apparent contradictions which are there in the scriptures, and this gives us a profound understanding of this material world, the Lord, the living entities, and the spiritual world. So this 5th chapter of Brahma Samhita explains that. And then this Brahma Samhita also explains the devotional service. It has the 18-syllable Vedic hymn. It has a discourse on soul and super soul. It's not a very big book actually. It's a in ISKCON it's available. It's a small book only, and so it has summarized all these very important topics. So it has discussion on soul and super soul. It has an explanation for Kama Gayatri, for Kama Bij. It has a description of original Mahavishnu, and it has a detailed description of the spiritual world, very specifically Golok, Vrindavan.
Alpakshare kahe siddhanta aparya sakala Vaishnava Shastra Madhya Tisara. So this particular scripture, this is in the continuation of the previous verse for Brahma Samhita, for it reveals the topmost knowledge about him. Since all conclusions are briefly presented in the Brahma Samhita, it is essential among all the Vaishnav literatures. So this is very, very important literature, and as it says, Brahma Samhita, it's a prayer of Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma is praying to the Supreme Lord Govinda Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami, and he is telling the position of others also vis-a-vis the Supreme Lord, like the position of demigod Vishnu or the Garbhodakshay. Demigod Ganesha, position of demigod Ganesha, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, or the origin of Gayatri Mantra. It also talks about the Supreme Lord Govinda and his position and how is his abode and where it is situated. It talks about the living entities and what is the highest goal of living entity. It talks about the role of goddess Durga. It talks about Lord Shiva. It talks about Lord Brahma and how Lord Brahma got initiated. So all these descriptions are there in detail in Brahma Samhita. And that is why one chapter of Brahma Samhita. And that is why Mahaprabhu is so ecstatic when he finds this, and he's very, very happy. And this book is very important for us.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu copied the Brahma Samhita, and then with great pleasure he went to a place known as Ananta Padmanabh Swami Ki Jai. So from there he moved to Trivandrum. Dina doi Padmanabher kaila darshana Anande dekhite aila Shri Janardana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained for 2 or 3 days at Anant Padmanabh and visited the temple there. Then in great ecstasy, he went to see the temple of Shri Janardana. So this temple is north of Trivandrum. Dina duitaha kari kirtana nartana पयस्विनी आशिया देखे Shankar Narayana.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted and danced at Sri Janardhan for 2 days. He then went to the bank of Payasvini river and visited the temple of Shankar Narayan. Then he saw the monastery known as Sringeri Mutt, the abode of Acharya Shankar. He then visited Matsya Tirth, a place of pilgrimage, and took bath in the river Tungabhadra. So now this is the place, Sringeri Mutt. This is actually the headquarters of Shankaracharya. And this is located in Karnataka in Chikmagalur. And this place is at the confluence of river Tunga and Bhadra. So this is the most important place as such for the followers of Shankaracharya. So there he visits. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited. Madhavacharya sthane ailaya tattvavadi Udupite Krishna dekhi taha haila premonmadi.
So then the Lord visited the place of Madhvacharya Sthane, Udupi Krishna dekhi, and there he had the darshan of Lord Krishna at Udupi. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu next arrived at Udupi, the place of Madhvacharya, where the philosophers known as Tattvavadis resided. There he saw the deity of Lord Krishna and became mad with ecstasy. So there is this amazing deity of Lord Krishna, and we can see that he is holding stick in one hand and is holding a lump of food in the other. And so this is the place of Shripad Madhvacharya. He took his birth near Udupi, a place called Pajaka Kshetra. And when he was young, in his childhood, he was called Vasudev. His father, so there are many interesting stories, and Prabhupada writes a very, very elaborate purport here, which talks about a lot of detail from Madhvacharya's life. So when he was very young, Madhvacharya is very young, his father had piled up a lot of debt. And it is described and it is mentioned that how Madhvacharya converted the tamarind seeds into coins and paid off that debt. And when he was just 5 years old, he accepted the sacred thread. The sacred thread ceremony was performed. And it is also described that he was very, very powerful. There was so much of strength in him. So there was a demon in the form of a snake which lived nearby, near his abode, near his home. And Madhvacharya, young boy, still young boy, he killed that snake with the toe of his left foot. So, so a very powerful snake, but he was just killed by the left toe of Madhvacharya. And it's also mentioned that whenever his mother was, would get very, very disturbed, where is the child, this, that. So in one jump, wherever this boy would be there, in one jump, he will come and be present in front of his mother. And he was also a very great scholar. He was a great scholar. And just at 12 years of age, despite his father was not agreeing, he accepted sannyas. And after that, he went to Badrikashram. There he met Vyasadeva. And before Vyasadeva, he explained his commentary on Bhagavad Gita. And thus he became a great scholar by studying before Vyasadeva. So these are some of the amazing glories of Madhvacharya. We'll hear about him a little more.
Nartak Gopala dekhe parama mohane Madhavacharya swapna diya ailatanre sthane. While at the Udupi monastery, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw dancing Gopal, a most beautiful deity. The deity appeared to Madhavacharya in a dream. So the deity which is there, which we can also go and have darshan now. So Mahaprabhu was seeing that deity, and then it is mentioned that that deity actually appeared to Madhvacharya in a dream. Gopi chandan tale ache lingate
Madhvacharya te Krishna paila kona mate. Madhvacharya had somehow or other acquired the deity of Krishna from a heap of Gopi Chandan that had been transported in a boat. So once what happened is that he was sitting beside the sea and he was meditating on Lord Krishna, that he saw that a boat was about to capsize. So from the shore, somehow he could guide the boatmen. He could guide them and they could somehow safely bring the boat to the shore, and that's how the boat was saved. So the owners of the boat were very, very pleased with Madhvacharya and they wanted to offer him some gift. And finally Madhvacharya accepted a heap of Gopi Chandan. And as whole huge heap of Gopi Chandan was brought in front of him, it cracked and opened, and from within came a large deity of Krishna.
Hari Hari.
And this deity of Krishna, as we can see, and as I was mentioning earlier, that in the deity in his right hand is holding a stick, which is actually a churning rod, and left hand he is holding a lump of food in the other hand. So this was the deity which actually came to Madhvacharya. This deity was so heavy that because this happened on the seashore. Now from there the deity had to be brought to Udupi, and it was so heavy that even 30 people were finding it difficult to lift the deity. But then Madhvacharya, he personally picked up the deity and brought from the seashore to where the deity is now installed in Udupi, alone.
Madhvacharya ani tanre karila sthapana, adyavadi seva kare tatvavadi gana. Madhvacharya brought this dancing Gopal deity to Udupi and installed him in the temple. Today, the followers of Madhvacharya, known as Tattvavadis, worship this deity.
In fact, Madhvacharya was so strong that there is another incident which is mentioned, that there was a person who had strength of 30 people. One man had that much of strength, and one time, for whatever reason, Madhvacharya put his toe on his leg and he said, if you have strength, you remove it. And he tried his best, but he could not move. He could not free his leg. Krishna Murti dekhi Prabhu Mahasukha paila, Prema veshe bahu kshana, Nritya Gita kaila.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received great pleasure in seeing this beautiful form of Gopal. For a long time, he danced and chanted in ecstatic love.
Of course, Madhvacharya was a great scholar, and his fame was spread everywhere. And the Mathadish of Sringeri Math became very, very disturbed and perturbed about the glories and the growing influence of Madhvacharya, because Madhvacharya was a devotee of the Lord. He was a personalist. And the followers of Shankaracharya and the Sringeri Math, they were all impersonalists and Mayavadi, so they were very afraid of him. In fact, some of them were defeated by Madhvacharya in debates.
So that's the difference. We were discussing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was before this, he was in Sringeri Math. So Sringeri Math comes under the followers of Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya and his followers, they do not believe in a personal form of the Supreme Lord. They believe that the Supreme Lord is impersonal. And here we have Madhvacharya and his followers who are known as Tattvavadis, and they believe that Lord has a personal form.
Transcendental, beautiful form, and they worship that beautiful form. Tattvavadi gana Prabhu ke mayavadi jnane, prathama darshane Prabhu ke na kaila sambhashane. When the Tattvavadi Vaishnavas first saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they considered him a Mayavadi sannyasi. Therefore, they did not talk to him. Now we know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas from in the Mayavadi from a Mayavadi sannyasi, and so when these Tattvavadi Vaishnavas saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they thought, oh, he's a Vaishnava, he's a Mayavadi sannyasi. So they did not really talk to him. So that was the kind of the Vaishnavas would not really entertain Mayavadis, because Mayavadis were not devotees and would
offenders.
Yeah, they were actually offenders to the Lord. So they would not really talk to him, and that's what they did. They thought that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a Mayavadi sannyasi, so they just avoided him. Pache prema vesha dekhi hoila chamatkara, Vaishnav jnane bahuta karila satkara.
Later, after seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in ecstatic love, they were struck with wonder. Then, considering him a Vaishnava, they gave him a nice reception. So just seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Mahaprabhu was expressing his ecstatic love, they could understand that he is a Param Vaishnav. Vaishnava tasabaran tare garva jani ishat hasiya kicho kaira
Gauramani. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could understand that the Tattvavadis were very proud of their Vaishnavism. He therefore smiled and began to speak to them. So now here is a chance for them to receive the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Antare garva jani gaura chandra Tana sabha sange goshti karila arambha.
Considering them very proud, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began his discussion. And now we must see that if we find some proud people, how we are supposed to talk. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will teach us. Tattvavadi acharya sabha shastre te pravina
Tanre prashna kaila prabhu hanayena dina. The chief acharya of the Tattvavadi community was very learned. Sabha shastrete praveen. So they were very learned in the revealed scriptures. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu humbly questioned him.
Sadhya sadhana mina
jani bhala mate Sadhya sadhan shrestha jana
amate. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I do not know very well the aim of life and how to achieve it. Please tell me of the best ideal for humanity and how to attain it. So Mahaprabhu took a very humble position, and to begin the conversation, he said, I am so humble that though he is a sannyasi, he is saying, I do not know the aim of life and I do not know the process of how to attain it. So please tell me what I shall do, or what is the best. Acharya varnashram dharma Krishna samarpana ei hoya Krishna bhaktir shrestha sadhana.
The Acharya replied, when the activities of the 4 castes and the 4 ashramas are dedicated to Krishna, they constitute the best means whereby one can attain the highest goal of life. Now, he has already met Ramanand Rai, and there was a lot of discussion on this, and we saw in the previous chapters that how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Ihe bhaya aare kaha aar. This is external. Tell me more.
Tell the real thing.
Tell the real thing. So there, already this point was discussed that what this Acharya is telling here, this Varnashram Dharma, Krishna Samarpan. So when the Varnashramic duties, the duties of the Varna, duties of the Ashrama, they are performed and then they are offered to the Lord, then this is mentioned as Shrestha Sadhana by the Acharya here. Panchavedi Mukti Pana Vaikunthe Gamana Sadhya Shrestha Hayai Shastra Nirupana.
When one dedicates the duties of Varnashram Dharma to Krishna, he is eligible for 5 kinds of liberation. Thus, he is transferred to the spiritual world in Vaikuntha. This is the highest goal of life and the verdict of all revealed scriptures. So many of us also, before coming to ISKCON, or even after coming to ISKCON but not really reading Prabhupada books, we would feel that the perfection is attaining liberation. That okay, so we have heard that this material world is very problematic. There is this problem and that problem and birth problem and death problem and disease and old age and all those things. So the best thing what can happen is to attain liberation. And then when we came to ISKCON and started reading Prabhupada books, we found, okay, there are 5 types of liberations, not 1 but 5 kind of liberation. So here the Tattvavadis are telling that just perform your Varnashram duties. So whichever Varna and Ashram you belong to, just perform that duties, and just by performing that duty, one will become eligible for liberation. And when you are liberated from this material world, that is the perfection of all the revealed scripture. But mind it, this is not Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who is saying, this is the Tattvavadis who are saying. And at the bottom we see that Lord Chaitanya defeats the Tattvavadis at Tirupati. So we will hear how this is all wrong what they are telling.
Actually, it is not wrong. It is a lower principle. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asking
wrong from the angle that this is not the highest.
Yes, this is not the highest. So he was saying that offer the duties for the pleasure of the Lord. So offer it to the Lord. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is asking, what is the highest? Prabhu kahe shastre kahe shravana kirtana Krishna prema seva phale parama sadhana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, according to the verdict of the Shastra, the process of hearing and chanting is the best means to attain loving service to Krishna. So Shravana Kirtan, Krishna prema seva phalera parama sadhana. So this is the highest and the best. So the process, the sadhana, is to hear and chant about the name of the Lord, the glories of the Lord, the form of the Lord, the pastimes of the Lord, the abode of the Lord. So we hear and chant about them, and that is the best means to attain what? What is the highest goal? Goal is Krishna prema seva. So loving service to Krishna, that is the highest goal. So by hearing and chanting, we achieve the highest goal. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is revealing here the highest goal and the best sadhana to achieve that goal. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Pada Sevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atma Nivedanam Iti Pumsarpita Vishnu Bhaktischennava Lakshana Kriyeta Bhagavati Adha Tanmanye Ditamuttamam.
So these two verses are from Srimad Bhagavatam, and it says, this process entails hearing, chanting, and remembering the holy name, form, pastimes, qualities, and entourage of the Lord, offering service according to the time, place, and performer, worshipping the deity, offering prayers, always considering oneself the eternal servant of Krishna, making friends with him, and dedicating everything unto him. So these are the Navavidha Bhakti, what we call the 9 processes, starting from Shravan, Kirtan, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam. So like that, those 9 processes are mentioned. And then it says, these 9 items of devotional service, when directly offered to Krishna, constitute the highest attainment of life. This is the verdict of the revealed scriptures. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling that this is what the scriptures say. Engaging in Navavidha Bhakti. Shravana Kirtana Haite Krishna Haya Prema Sei Pancham Purushartha Purusharthir Sima.
When one comes to the platform of loving service to Lord Krishna by executing these 9 processes, beginning with hearing and chanting, he has attained the 5th platform of success and the limit of life's goal. So the 4 goals, the 4 Purusharthas are Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that through these scriptures, he is revealing that there is actually a 5th goal of human life. And that 5th goal of human life is to develop love for God. And that love for God is developed by executing these 9 processes directly for Lord Krishna. So Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu's process, whatever we do, these 9 processes, directly done for the Lord, and then we can attain love for God.
Evam Vritaha Swapriya Nama Kirtya Jata Nurago Druta Chitta Uchchai Hasati Athoro Dito Rauti Gayati Unmadavan Rityati Lokabhaya. When a person is actually advanced and take pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord, who is very dear to him, he is agitated and loudly chants the holy name. He also laughs, cries, becomes agitated and chants just like a madman, not caring for outsiders. So Mahaprabhu is quoting scriptures, and the most potent form of all these scripture Mahaprabhu says is Srimad Bhagavatam. So he's quoting various verses to establish that how the highest goal is Krishna Prem, and how it can be attained by the process of chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Karma ninda karma tyaga sarva shastre kahe karma haite prema bhakti Krishna ka bhuna hai. In every revealed scripture there is condemnation of fruitive activities. It is advised everywhere to give up the engagement in fruitive activities, for no one can attain the highest goal of life, love of God, by executing them. So here He's explaining that if one just simply performs the fruitive activities, one performs the varnashramic duty, he cannot really attain love of God. So then what is the point? So therefore then we have the karma yoga, which is explained by Lord in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, which has two parts, sakam karma yoga and nishkam karma yoga. So actually both of them do not give a transcendental result. Sakam karma yoga takes one to the heavenly planets. Nishkam karma yoga helps one to become detached, but when one still remains attached to the duties per se. But then that nishkam karma yoga makes one eligible to enter into Jnana Yoga. So this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is explaining, that until the time one continues to remain engaged in fruitive activities, it is not possible for him to attain the highest goal of life.
Agyayaivam gunan doshan maya dishtanapi swakan dharman santyajya yah sarvan mam bhajet sacha sattamaha. Occupational duties are described in the religious scriptures. If one analyzes them, he can fully understand their qualities and faults and then give them up completely to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A person who does so is considered a first-class man. So who's considered a first-class man? Who actually gives up the occupational duty and surrenders to the Supreme Lord.
Sarvadharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Sarvadharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So here Krishna is telling Arjuna that I have told you about Sakam Karma Yoga, Nishkam Karma Yoga. I have told you about Gyan Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga, and I have told you about what are the pious activities, what are the impious activities, what are the demoniac and the the non-demoniac personalities.
What is Varnashram Dharma?
What is Varnashram Dharma? I have told you all of them, but I am now telling you to abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. Mam ekam sharanam vraja. And if you think that if you will not be performing those religious duties and you may accrue some sin, no, do not worry. Aham tum sarva papebhyo. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So all you have to do is just take shelter of me alone.
Tavat karmani kurvita na nirvidyeta yavata matkatha shravanadauva shraddhayavan na jayate. As long as one is not satiated by fruitive activity and has not awakened his taste for devotional service by Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, one has to act according to the regulative principles of the Vedic injunctions. So, this verse also indicates that when one surrenders and when one accepts the process of devotional service, then he need not follow the other regulative principles, because then he is able to perform the highest thing. So that is the highest, and then the fruitive activity is like not so important in comparison to the devotional service.
Panchaveda mukti tyaga kare bhakta gana falgukari mukti dekhe narakhe rasama. Pure devotees reject the 5 kinds of liberation. Indeed, for them liberation is very insignificant because they see it as hellish. So the pure devotees, their existence is service to the Lord. They receive all their pleasure and bliss and purpose of life and satisfaction in serving the Lord. So for them, they reject the 5 kinds of liberation. So 5 kinds of liberation is to achieve the same abode as that of the Lord, or to achieve same form as that of the Lord, or to achieve same opulence as that of the Lord, or to achieve proximity to the Lord, or the 5th one, which everyone hates, all devotees hate, is to become one with God. So these 5 kinds of, actually all these 5 kinds of liberation are rejected by pure devotee if it is devoid of service to the Lord. So their pure devotees aim only at loving service to the Lord, whether they are in heaven, whether they are in hell. So whatever is suitable, the Lord provides them that position in the spiritual world, but they do not desire liberation as such, because in liberation the person is in the center, and for the pure devotee Krishna is in the center. Indeed, for them liberation is very insignificant because they see it as hellish.
So now in the further verses, we will see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proving this point and condemning liberation also. So we will catch up in the next session for that verses, and then we will see what is the reaction of the Tattvavadis when they hear this wonderful philosophy from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you all. Hare Krishna.
Madhya